I don't do 6 o'clock in the morning, but I am leaving my parents' home here in Georgetown, Kentucky. On my way to Richmond for the Richmond Card Show. We'll give you an update. Hopefully it's going to be a great show. Looking forward to it. And we'll give you some updates on the show as the day goes on. It's been going about 30 minutes. It's 12:15 and it's cleared out a whole lot. Cleared out a whole lot at 12:15. I have left the Richmond, Kentucky show, heading back to Georgetown, Kentucky. It's a torrential downstorm. Initial thoughts from a show perspective, I miss my running buddy. I miss Don for sure. It's different doing a show with one person versus two from all aspects. So that was an experience, but we managed fine. When I get back to Georgetown, I will kind of give you a recap of this show. I have some distinct thoughts on this show for anybody that's considering setting up, and I'll share those with you just as soon as I get back to Georgetown. Okay, we're back in Kentucky, and I just want to give a quick recap of this show real quickly, just to point out this was September the 6th, so there's 3 more left this year. You can see the dates here: October 4th, November 22nd, and December the 13th. The main thing I probably learned from this show, and as you guys know, I like to give a perspective from a dealer standpoint, and I make these as much for me, just notes. If I go back to the show, what would I do differently? And hopefully you can benefit from this if you're a dealer. If you're a collector and you're within driving distance of this show, hopefully at this point it's pretty obvious this is a show based upon the number of dealers and tables that are available for you to select from. It's a great show to attend if you're a collector. But to continue on here, this was the first time I actually had 4 of these boxes for our $15 slab boxes. Normally we only do 2. It's one of the best things that we do at shows. We do extremely well with them. I've talked about it on other videos, but we added 2 more for this show, and I'm going to continue this trend, as you guys will see in the future, those of you that watch all of our reviews. I was shocked that the Reds box didn't do better. Honestly, my signage here was not very good. I realized right before I was getting ready to leave that I hadn't done signage on the inside of the box, and so I'll improve that. But this Reds box, when I compare it to Braves box, when we do shows in Georgia, it did minuscule business. We sold some good cards out of this, but the interest was not there like you see in Georgia for Braves, in the Braves box that we have at Atlanta shows. He's Rob Dillingham, star player for the University of Kentucky. This 2 card sets, we had several of these. We sold a few, so I was glad I brought those, and we moved out several of these 2 card sets of Dillingham. The other thing from the show's perspective, I had planned on bringing my Prices Mark box, which looks something like this, in its primary $3 cards to $40 cards, and I just went off and left it. I didn't bring it. If I had brought it, I probably would have replaced the Reds box with the Prices Mark box, $3 to $15, probably halfway through the show. You can see we had several of the Bo Jackson shoulder pad cards. We sold, I think, 2 of those. We had a stack right here, you can see, barely, of the Griffey Jr. Upper Deck. We also sold 2 of those, one graded, one not graded. It was the same with the bow. One was graded, one was not. Overall, again, we just did one table because it was me by myself and in my car, and then honestly that was all the inventory I could get there. The biggest sale, we sold one of our Ellie taking over the village cards, I call it. It's the big league Ellie card autograph that we had autographed personally and certified by Beckett. This is just a phenomenal card. We have one right now on eBay. We did sell one at the show, and a huge Ellie collector was able to pick that card up. So we did sell one. That was our biggest sale. Very happy about that. Glad it went to a good home, and it really went to a good home. I really enjoyed speaking with this guy. Here's the gentleman who bought it. He was there with his daughter, who's recently got into Pokemon, and he has since got into his cards from when he was a kid and is getting back into the hobby. We had a great conversation. Real nice guy. I really enjoyed our conversation with him. But he was happy to pick it up. He thought about it. He saw it. He came back and forth to the table a couple of times. And, he just came to the conclusion, this autograph on this card is phenomenal. If I don't pick it up, I'm going to wish I had. And when am I ever going to see another one? And anyway, he picked it up. Norman, I think was his gentleman's name. Real nice guy, big A's fan. He picked up some other A's cards he was showing me too. Some of the rookies that are doing real well right now with the A's. So I met a lot of really good people. The bottom line for this show, great, knowledgeable vendors, and a lot of them with a lot of variety. The vendors were phenomenal. The collectors that I met that were getting back into the hobby, we met several of those. I had one gentleman, and I heard him talk about that he was from Georgetown, Kentucky. And when he came to the table, I said, "Did you say you were from Georgetown?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, my brother," he said, "Are you one of the brothers that had that shop in Georgetown, 25 years ago?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I spent a lot of time in that shop when I was a kid." But real cool guy. I enjoyed speaking with him. He's getting back into the hobby as well. Used to come to our shop 25 years ago, and he, I think, ended up purchasing 4 or 5 cards out of our slab box, and we had a really good conversation. So a lot of good people, a lot of good collectors, a lot of people getting back into the hobby, and very knowledgeable attendees as well. We did several trades at this show with very knowledgeable people. So it was very enjoyable from that standpoint, from the people that we met. Our table fee to sell ratio was one of the best for us this year because the table is a 6-foot table, small table. That's all I needed. But it was just $30 to set up at this show. So very, very reasonable compared to, most shows that we do. I think it's a must-attend for collectors if you're within driving distance. Yet 88 tables of quality merchandise and knowledgeable dealers that were willing to work with you. So if you're within driving distance of this show, I highly recommend it. What would make this show a great show for vendors, honestly? And I know people aren't going to want to hear this, and a lot of people wouldn't agree with this. But what would make this show, and I'm not complaining, we did great at this show. I'm very happy with our sales, the people we met, the trades. We did good. As I mentioned earlier, our table feed to sales ratio was one of the best this year. But if you wanted to really make this show phenomenal for vendors, I would charge $60 a table and cut the vendors in half. Instead of having 88 tables, have about 50 or 40 even, and just charge double and have less vendors, because the vendor to attendee ratio was not good compared to a lot of other shows we go to. And that's a fine line there. You want a big show, you want the more vendors you have, the more crowd you're going to attract. But right now, that ratio was not good from my perspective. It's just far too few attendees compared to the number of vendors that were there. But if I lived in Kentucky and I was a dealer vendor, I would definitely put this show on my calendar to go to every single month. Well worth my time, energy, and effort, especially if I lived here. But I was going to be in Kentucky anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal just to pack up and check out this show, and I'm glad I went. It was very difficult not having my wife with me, my better half, Dawn. She helps a lot. It shows we do in other states, but and especially in Georgia. But so it's a little bit different experience, but I had help when I needed through other vendors, and it was fine. Overall, it's a great show. If you're going to set up or if you plan on attending, I can highly recommend this show. Again, there's 3 left this year, October 4th, November 22nd, and December 13th. If you enjoy this type of content, I hope you'll subscribe to this channel. As always, your comments and feedback are appreciated. If you have attended this show or set up at this show and you'd like to leave your perspective, I'm sure people that watch this video would also appreciate that. But overall, very pleased, very glad for the experience. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people I met, and who knows, down the road we may end up doing this again in the future. So again, guys, thanks for watching. The next show that we're going to be attending, actually, we're just going, I talked to Dawn tonight, we're just going to check out the show. We'll do a review, I'm sure, but it's going to be on the Culture Collision show that will be happening in the Atlanta area, I think the weekend after I get back. So it's coming up pretty soon. And I think we have a show the following weekend, maybe in Tennessee, that we're doing. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll continue to provide you updates. And we appreciate you watching. Have a good one.